أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم تسليمًا كثيرا. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله تعالى، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran a conversation between himself and Iblis. And this was after Iblis, Satan, rejected the command, the direct command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to prostrate to Adam alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us a snippet of that conversation, and he said, قَالَ مَا مَنَعَكَ أَلَّا تَسْجُدَ إِذْ أَمَرْتُكَ. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inquiring from Iblis, like, what was the reason? What stopped you from prostrating to Adam alayhi salam after I ordered you? So this is like a direct violation of my command. And the answer of Iblis, as we know, was قَالَ أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُ خَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ. It's a very simple answer. And in this case, Iblis was honest. And what he said was, the reason I did not do it, I did not prostrate to Adam, is because I am better than him. You created me from fire, and you created him from clay. That's it. That is the answer. Now, if I were to ask you for a definition of racism, I don't think you can find a better definition than what Iblis just said. This is like the best definition, the clearest, the simplest definition of racism. I am better than you because I have a lighter skin. I am made of this and you're made of that. In fact, you can argue that human racism is even worse, because at least Iblis saw some difference, like fire, clay, they're not the same. But between two human beings, the same material, just a light difference in color, a subtle little difference in color, and you think you're much better than someone else, or a slight difference in complexion, whatever it is. Some people even dig into genealogy and they want to show that this gene is better than that gene. Very silly, you think. But this is really the definition of racism. And actually, you can say from this that racism is an original sin. I mean, yes, you can argue as well that this is an example of arrogance, of pride, but no doubt racism is part of it. So racism, by definition, is satanic, shaitani. It is the idea of shaitan. It is the idea of Satan. And as a result, it is totally the opposite. It is totally the opposite of the divine plan, the divine message. So don't let anybody from any religion try and come and convince you that racism comes somehow from some faith or some religion. It's very clear, at least in Islam, it's very clear that racism originates from Satan. Now, Quran does not stop at that. Yes, you could say, well, okay, great, racism is satanic, therefore it is definitely haram. In fact, you can argue it's a major sin, etc. The Quran does not stop at that. So Muslims are supposed to be a role model in this. And we could do much better than saying, well, racism is rejected, racism is not good, etc. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, for example, in various ayat, various verses in the Quran. In one ayah he said, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ. In Surah Al-Rum, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us from the signs, from the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is a miracle, it is a sign, it is an ayah. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and earth, and the fact that you see the difference in tongues and colors. This is a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a blessing. The fact that we have different colors, different races, different tongues, different languages. This is a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously, if it is a bounty from Allah, if it is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we have to be grateful. We have to recognize such a bounty, and we have to be grateful. And we have to celebrate, because it's a bounty, it's a blessing. We have to celebrate this bounty. Because you can say, I'm not a racist, but you don't feel great about the different races. You don't think it's a big deal. You don't think it's a good idea. And therefore you don't try and leverage, you don't try and utilize this, blessing. And that's what happens. I'm going to give some examples, inshallah, in the Muslim community. How you may not be a racist, at least not obvious or not explicit racism, but you might have some remnants of some implicit racism, where you're not taking advantage of this bounty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, where you're not celebrating the different races, the different cultures, the different backgrounds, the different tongues, that everybody or every community, every group, every race, every country, or every immigrants from a certain country keep to themselves. We're not really celebrating this ayah. We're not really implementing this ayah. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, it is an ayah, it is a great sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a sign of His greatness, the fact that He has created us, as we see here, mashallah, in the masjid. People from every race, every color, every tongue. That is a bounty right here. But we have to take it a little further. Inshallah, if you can come forward a little bit so we can have more space for the people who come late. Jazakallah khair. Another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes us a little further. In the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Hujurat, we all know this ayah, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the fact that He has created people from male and female. So first, a recognition of the gender, that both are important. And then the fact that we have made you from different tribes, different races, different ethnicities. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the reason. It wasn't just in vain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it for no reason. No, there's a reason. And the reason, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, so that we get to know each other. So that you introduce yourselves to each other. لِتَعَارَفُوا. That's one of the greatest reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in different colors and different races. Now, of course, some people will totally reverse it. And instead of recognizing that, they will use the difference in color and race and tongue to do what? To say, I'm better. To create this animosity between the same human family, to basically create racism. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the objective, and that is so that we know each other. Because it is interesting when you talk to people from different backgrounds, different colors, and different tongues, and you get to learn. Maybe they bring something to the table you don't have, and you bring something to the table they don't have. So that's the idea of ta'aruf. right? You have some strength, other people have other strength. When you think that your race has it all, when you think that strength and intelligence and any kind of skill you can think of, when you think that this is limited to one race, number one, you're depriving yourself from all the other resources. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us a very important message, the fact that there's a fundamental wisdom behind creating those different colors and races and ethnicities, etc. So again, if we're not doing that, we're not really fulfilling the objective that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set for us. And when we look at the Muslim community, we have to be very honest. And we know at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, we always go back to the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And we are proud, truly so, of how the companions were able to implement and manifest these great verses in the Quran. We know how Bilal radiallahu anhu, the Abyssinian, how he was integrated. And he was considered just one like everybody else. Not only that, in fact, if you listen to Umar radiallahu anhu, who was considered one of the greatest leaders of the Arabs, and later when he became a Muslim. Look what he said when he looked at Bilal radiallahu anhu. He said that Bilal is our master and he was freed by our master. So he recognized Bilal as our Sayyiduna, our master. And this is Umar radiallahu anhu. And we have other examples. We have Suhaib al-Rumi, the Roman. It was multicultural in the society of the Prophet ﷺ. But today, when we look at the Muslim community today, not just here, I mean anywhere, we do see subtle forms of racism. Sometimes it manifests itself in a form of a separate center or a separate masjid, a masjid just for the Arabs or just for the Albanians or the Bosnians or the African Americans or the Indians. And sometimes it's more subtle. The fact, for example, that you only communicate, you only interact with the people of your kind, and you only feel comfortable communicating with people from your background is, like I said, a subtle form of racism. And you see it very clear. Look at your friends. Are all your friends from the same type, the same color, the same background? I mean, it's not enough just to read it in the Quran or to say, well, I come to jum'a and I have everyone. Well, you have to come to jum'a. And the masjid has to allow everybody to come in. But I'm talking about your private life. Have we implemented these ayat of the Quran and the hadith, as we're going to see, of the Prophet ﷺ? And that's a very important question to ask ourselves. Do we sometimes, for example, ridicule people from other races? And it's not just a race, I mean, even among the Arabs, for example. You see the Egyptians to themselves, you see the Syrians to themselves, you see the Palestinians to themselves. Yes, there's some minor interaction here and there, but the vast majority of the time, everybody is keeping to themselves. And as a result, we're not able to leverage each other, to help each other as we should. Everybody is committed to his cause, but not the other cause. Is that a subtle form of at least disunity? When I feel much stronger about the Palestinian cause because I'm from Palestine, but other people feel much stronger about the Syrian cause because they're from Syria, and so on. Now, I'm sorry to say that, but I see that myself, and I don't know if you agree with me, but this is definitely something that you could recognize, at least in some cases. The Prophet ﷺ, in a great hadith, he was addressing the ummah because this was the end of the life of the Prophet. It was in a big gathering, Hajjatul Wada. And now we're coming at Hajj, and so this is an opportune time to mention this. He said, "Ya ayyuhan nas, inna rabbakum wahid, wa inna abakum wahid." So we see the approach of the Prophet ﷺ. So he said, first of all, your God is one, your Creator is one, and your father, Adam, is one. We all come from Adam. So basically what the Prophet is doing here is he's establishing a foundation. He's highlighting the similarities, because any racist, what they do, they go and highlight the differences. Just like Iblis, I am better than him. I'm made from clay. Or rather, I'm made from fire and he's made from clay. So he's highlighting the differences. For example, he did not recognize the fact that both were created by the same God. He did not highlight that. So the Prophet ﷺ, before even giving you the ruling, he's establishing a foundation. The fact that we're all similar because we come from the same Father and we are created by the same God. So he said, إِنَّ رَبَّكُمْ وَاحِدْ وَإِنَّ أَبَاكُمْ وَاحِدْ ألا إنه لا فضل لعربي على عجمي ولا عجمي على عربي إلا بالتقوى. He said, indeed, there is no virtue, no meritocracy, no advantage of an Arab over a non-Arab and vice versa. ولا لأحمر على أسود ولا لأسود على أحمر. And rather, he said, or neither, for a red person, red color, any color. Basically, he's given us an example. Someone of a red complexion over someone of a black complexion and vice versa. Except in one thing, which is taqwa. And we know taqwa is not based on your look. It is not based on your make. It is based on your action. It is based on you're doing something. You're putting some effort. And that is the big distinction. This is really important. Because you think about it, anything that you have, whether it's a color, you're tall, you're short, you're chubby, you're thin, whatever it is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course we can talk about beauty and ugly, especially now in the presidential race. This is coming up over and over again. Who's better looking than the other? This is all the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have nothing to do with it. You have no credit whatsoever. Zero credit. If you're white or black or yellow, whatever, you have no credit in that. You cannot claim it. It's Allah's creation. The only thing you can claim is your actions. And this is why the Prophet clarified here that the only virtue you have over anyone else is your taqwa, your fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your actions. Again, if you come forward, I know it's getting very crowded, but try your best, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. So we see that Islam is establishing a very clear foundation from the beginning. So there is no platform for racism. If you really truly follow Islam and you understand the message of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, there's absolutely no room for racism. So therefore, if you see a racist Muslim, it's not coming from Islam, it's not coming from Quran or the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. It could be a remnant of Jahiliyyah. As the Prophet told one time a companion, I think it was Abu Dhar, when he spoke a word trying to put down someone, and he told him, Yabna Sauda, oh the son of a black woman. The Prophet said, immediately he said, Innaka mru'un fika jahiliyyah. You are a man that has a remnant of Jahiliyyah. The pre-Islamic time, the ignorant time. That's what it is. Racism is Jahiliyyah. It's based on ignorance. Ignorance of Allah, ignorance of the scripture, ignorance of Quran and the spirit of Islam. And I can go on and on. In a different hadith, and this is interesting because here the Prophet ﷺ is highlighting the beginning. So he said, كُلُّكُمْ لِآدَمْ وَآدَمْ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. Wallahi, I think as Muslims, we are in need of these messages more than anyone else. The amount of stereotyping among Muslims today is unbelievable. Wallahi, we have to go back. And this is very basic. It's not rocket science. It's really easy. So he told us, all of you are from Adam. You all descend from Adam. And on top of that, by the way, Adam is made from dirt, from soil. Now I know this term, people say, some people come from a humble origin, right? I mean, if somebody was not well-to-do, he's not rich, so we say he comes from a humble origin. Basically here the Prophet ﷺ is saying everyone comes from a humble origin. Does anyone not come from Adam ﷺ? And is there anything that is more humble than dirt and soil? Every human being has a humble origin. So this is the beginning. What about the end? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَلَا أَنْسَابَ بَيْنَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ. When that horn is blown on the day of judgment, then all these family ties, these relationships based on tribes and ethnicities and races, all of that will fall apart. He said, فَلَا أَنْسَابَ بَيْنَهُمْ. All these relationships will not do you any good. In a different ayah, he told us, الْأَخِلَّاءُ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ إِلَّا الْمُتَّقِينَ. Again, it goes back to taqwa. So all these friendships, that is based on ethnicity and color and culture and all of that. He said all of that because it was not based on taqwa, it was not based on the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rather it was based on some maslahah, on some interest. All of these people will turn into enemies except the people of taqwa. If you picked your friends in this life based on taqwa, because you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you love someone for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are the only friendships and the only relationships that will not fall apart. So again, it's a clear message from the Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that what matters at the end of the day is taqwa. It's not your country of origin, it's not your language, your color, your race, your ethnicity. All of that doesn't matter in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. I still see some people standing in the back, so try your best. I don't know what you can do, but if you can find some space for our brothers, jazakumullah khair. Now this topic is really important because it's coming to the surface over and over again. I mean, in this country, for example, we thought that this was behind us after the civil rights movement and all of that and all the laws being changed. We thought this was over. But you got to realize that these laws only change the surface. It does not change people's hearts. And this is why until today we are dealing with cases of police brutality against a certain race or a certain color. We have some candidates, some presidential candidates saying outrageous things against a certain ethnicity or a certain background. And on and on. This is happening as we speak. Racism is still alive, unfortunately. So not only we have to fix our own house and make sure that we're not racist against each other, we also should be a role model for other people as well, because we have a lot to offer. And as Muslims, we're already doing a lot of it. I mean, just like I said, here this site is a beautiful site. In this country, up till today, you may not see this anywhere except in Masjid. There's still a lot of segregation, whether we like it or not, in neighborhoods, in churches, and all the other places. There is some implicit form of segregation. Yeah, there's no sign anymore that says you cannot ride on this bus or you cannot go into this restaurant, but there is an implicit segregation. I'd like to end with this hadith, and this actually sums it all. And inshallah, if we can live by this hadith, when we look at each other and judge each other, not that we have to judge, but this is a really the divine system or the divine method of judging, basically. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Prophet actually told us about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ صُوَرِكُمْ وَأَجْسَامِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. So he told us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at your pictures, how you look like, how handsome or how beautiful you are. He doesn't look at your picture. He does not look at your bodies. That's not interesting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, He looks at your hearts and your actions. This is really the criteria. This is really the summary. And if everybody done that, if what you care about is, their merits, their virtues, their behavior, their actions, their talent, and not look at their looks, where they come from, who are they related to? I mean, again, if you look at Muslim countries, we have this idea of intercession, wasta, right? Your meritocracy is based on who you relate to. Who's your father? Who's your uncle? Are you connected or not connected? Again, it's defying this very simple principle that you don't judge people based on their looks, you don't judge people based on their bodies, on their connections, on their race, on their ethnicity. Rather, you look at their qualifications, you look at their actions, you look at their hearts. This is really the core, the essence of the human being. And this is what we do. Again, our race, our color, our height, our weight. Well, you probably can control weight, but everything else is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have nothing to do with it. You have no credit whatsoever. So focus on your heart, focus on your actions. This should be the only criteria of judging, if we have to judge. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us and to make us, obedient, and to allow us to understand the essence of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, to allow us to implement it as it should be done. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to eliminate any aspect or any remnants or leftover of racism from our hearts. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to treat each and every person equally and fairly. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us obedient to His commands, all of His commands. آمين. اللهم ربنا لا تدع لنا في هذا اليوم العظيم ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا عدوا إلا هزمته وقسمته ولا حاجة هي لك رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها لنا ويسرتها لنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم واجعلنا منهم. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم ربنا علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا يا ربنا علما. نعوذ بالله من حال أهل النار. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقم الصلاة.